Hey everyone, welcome back to another Dubsteel video. Today we are talking about two upcoming superhero films. We have Superman and Fantastic Four First Steps. I wanted to sort of discuss all of the controversy and just overall positives for these upcoming projects, as they are both in the superhero genre, but on two opposite ends of the spectrum. I want to talk about Fantastic Four first, as I feel like this one, as far as the two going head-to-head goes, might be slightly more of an underdog. Superman has a bit more going for it. You know, like, people are like, this is going to be the one. But with Fantastic Four, it's more so a matter of, can this be a competent superhero movie that is just a fun time, beginning to end, with some good dramatic moments, good character growth, and overall be a great, maybe top 15 MCU film? At least that's maybe what I'm expecting from it at this point. So let's talk about the positives. I think the suits look great. I think that the overall tone and environment that we're working with, that 1960s retro-futuristic New York, I think that's a really cool idea. Sort of taking advantage of the multiverse in that sense, more so than other Marvel projects have. We're finally getting a proper Galactus, at least from what they've shown us. We are getting Silver Surfer, albeit it is the female version, but that's not necessarily worth completely complaining about. It's just a matter of, well, they decided to do that, so I guess we'll roll with it, right? Besides that, to be quite honest with you, I think that's mostly all I have to say that's positive. Mostly because Marvel has sort of tempered my expectations with their past projects over the last few years. I don't really like to diss on Marvel too much, not to say that they don't deserve it, but it's mostly because I really was a huge MCU fan and still want to see them, succeed. It's just really hard to do that when the past few projects have been underwhelming or just okay at best. Fantastic Four is a staple name in Marvel. It was literally their first family of superheroes. That's what they're called, first family. So with a flagship team like this, you would think that Marvel would say, alright, let's cut the shit, let's do a well-produced film, and let's really blow people's expectations out of the water. At least that would be what I would think to say if I was remotely in charge of this production. Now, from what we've seen from the trailers and just overall what people have been talking about, it seems like we're going to get a fairly okay story that mostly focuses on Sue Storm and Reed Richards a little bit to the side, and it puts Johnny and Ben Grimm almost completely to the side, with maybe a couple of minute character development moments, which that's fairly understandable when you're working with a group of heroes. It's harder to focus on the entire team with the runtime that we're working with here. Look, I can be optimistic, right? I am excited for this movie in some sense. I'm not excited for it. I think maybe one of my biggest issues, and I know you've probably heard this plenty of times, but I really think they missed the mark on the casting. Excluding me not being a huge Pedro Pascal fan, if we're just going based off of looks, he doesn't look like Reed Richards. He doesn't. He looks like a guy that dresses up like Reed Richards. I mean, if I dressed up like Reed Richards, you could put me in the damn movie. If I could act, which I don't know if I can, I've never tried. Plus, he is a bit old. I'm sorry, but if we're looking to bring a new team to the MCU, really make them stand out and stay around for a while, we're going to have a Reed Richards that's in his 60s by the time we get another Fantastic Four movie. And then after that, he'll probably be in his 70s. That's not exactly something to be excited about. Invisible Woman, Vanessa Kirby, I think she maybe would have looked the part 10 years ago. Sorry, it's just another age thing. I mean, I think she's almost 40, right? So, I mean, that's not necessarily old in standard terms, but I'm pretty sure Invisible Woman is supposed to be like in her late 20s, maybe early 30s. So, I don't really have a lot of hope with these guys being long-standing members of the MCU. Now, that aside, Ben Grimm was always supposed to be a little bit older than Reed, I think. I mean, I'm not like entirely an expert on this, but I think the guy that they got for Ben, the dude from The Bear, I can't remember his name right now, but I think he does a great job in The Bear. Really, with somebody like The Thing, you just have to nail the voice. I mean, look, the guy, was it Michael Chiklit or something like that, who did The Thing in the old movies? I think he did a good job. He was in makeup, did a pretty good voice, I think, for him. The Thing really has those emotional marks in him because we know he's a tragic character and he's trying to feel better about himself and get that confidence back. So long as we nail that in the voice, because the whole thing's going to be CGI, then I think we're fine. Johnny Storm, I don't remember this kid's name, but he was in Stranger Things. Everyone loved him because he had that one really cool scene, I guess. I haven't seen that season. I mean, he doesn't seem like he's going to do a bad job. He just doesn't. It's the same thing with Reed. Not nearly because of the age, but he doesn't look like Johnny to me. What I envision Johnny to look like. Like, Johnny has that cool hair, sharp jawline, overall cool guy demeanor, and not because he's insecure, because that is something that's come out that they've talked about, is that Johnny is insecure, so he puts up an act to deal with his insecurities. Now, as interesting as that might sound, I don't think it hurts to just have a clear-cut, douchey character that wants to have fun and do right by his friends and family. There's nothing wrong with that. So, that being my issues with the cast, I think besides that, and like I said, what we might get from the story and sort of some underdeveloped tones, I think we might get something that's fairly decent. I think it'll be better than Thunderbolts. I thought Thunderbolts was pretty okay. Step in the right direction in certain ways, but overall, just a normal MCU movie. I'm really hoping that they make Fantastic Four at least have some really special moments that stick with you. That will make this Fantastic Four everyone's favorites. I mean, I'm pretty biased. I did like the early 2000 ones. I thought the casting for those ones was great. I thought everyone did a great job for what it was trying to be. Was it perfect? No. Everyone always talks about the Galactus Cloud monster, but I think they were fun movies, and I've found myself rewatching them over the years. I can't say that I've rewatched really almost any of the recent MCU films, so that's kind of saying something. But enough about Fantastic Four. Let's go ahead and move on to the movie I am truly excited about, James Gunn's Superman. Now, the reason that I am more excited for Superman is it's DC's next attempt at a universe with somebody who has experience with superhero universes and did help craft the Marvel one. So, with that in mind, we're presumably going to get something that is a story that stands on its own, but can also contribute to the bigger universe overall. But people aren't going to see this as a stepping stone, necessarily. They'll see it more as standalone, but can appreciate what it does contribute. And I think James Gunn has talked about that. He wants his DC movies to stand on their own 2 feet, and to not feel like homework, to not feel like it's something you have to watch before you watch anything else. And that's an easier task, said than done, but I do admire the mental fortitude of this guy. What I'm hoping this movie is the Iron Man 1 for DC. Not in the sense where it's, you need to watch this before you watch Avengers, so that way you understand Iron Man's origin story. I like Iron Man 1 because it's a movie I can show my mom or my dad, and they don't know anything about Marvel, and they could just enjoy it and get everything out of it that they want you to get from it. if you were to watch maybe something like The Marvels or something, or Ant-Man Quantumania, or Thor Love and Thunder, you would have had to watch the previous MCU movies, at least the really big ones, including the movies prior to those franchises separately, right? But when crafting a cinematic universe, it's harder to focus more so on the singular stories. So I can't necessarily blame the MCU for that, but I can blame them for lackluster storytelling. Won't get too much into that anyway, but Superman is supposed to be a symbol, right? That's what he is to a lot of people. He's what's tried and true, and he's somebody that doesn't give up. And he is what a lot of us want to be, right? We want to be trustworthy, honest, dependable individuals. But we find ourselves falling in a lot of those through our day-to-day lives. Superman is somebody who's not human, but can be the most human out of all of us. So what's not to admire with him? There's a reason that the whole world knows him. With that being said, as much of a staple superhero Superman is, his movies are also important for the world. The original Christopher Reeve Superman movie was huge. It did things that people had never seen before in a film. When looking at a character like this, we want to feel hopeful. We want to admire him. We want to do better in our lives. So with it being such a stapled superhero, stapled franchise in Hollywood, that means this is a big deal. And I think James Gunn knows that. This is a movie that cannot just be okay or meh or it was fine. No, this movie has to be, that was good. That was really good. Now, how do we get to that, right? Well, we need a competent story. We need a likable character, and his surrounding cast are people that we can understand and get behind. Or even if we don't completely understand them, we want to. We want to be invested in this world. I think character growth is the most important attribute to filmmaking besides, well, good camera work and good music. We need all of that, but without the characters, what is it? What are we watching? You know, what do we want to watch? Superman has always been such an interesting character that kind of gets pushed to the side by some people because they'll see him as boring or uninteresting. I'm not a mega Superman fan. I can't say I've read the comics. I'm very much a casual DC fan. I sort of know the ins and outs of the universe. I know some Superman plot lines, you know, but I grew up watching some of the cartoons and watching YouTube videos of people talking about this stuff that have far more knowledge than I do. Superman is an interesting character, and his surrounding cast is interesting. I want to see what sort of journey this character goes on from the beginning of this movie to the end. See how he grows, see how flawed he is. Because to be quite honest with you, the best characters do have flaws. Spider-Man 2 is my favorite movie of all time, and Peter is far from perfect in that movie. I think if we get a genuinely good character film here that makes us eager for more, then mission accomplished. And we're gonna have a lot to look forward to with the upcoming DC slate. Plus, since I did mention the Fantastic Four costumes, I should mention Superman's. I think his outfit looks great. I mean, I can't say there's no notes. I will admit, yeah, there's some unnecessary lines on there, for sure. But if you got rid of those, like, this would be a perfect suit, man. I mean, they nailed it. I love the logo. The underwear on the outside is perfect. The cape is sick. I think the collar that kind of rides up his neck a little bit's cool too. I could do with or without it. It's not a huge deal. But overall, great. I think David Cornsweet was perfect casting. Based off of what we've seen so far anyway. We got a younger guy, so that way he can last a little bit longer in this universe. He acts like Superman from what we've seen in the trailers. He's got that confident, sort of brooding approach to him. but he can also be innocent and casual, like how he should be. Plus, another reason I'm excited is because we don't have like a lot of flying characters doing action scenes. We have, of course, gotten them in the past, but it's been hard to find a project that really focuses on that one character that can pull that off. You know, like this whole movie's action will be focusing on Superman. So we're going to be following a guy flying around with super strength, doing the unimaginable. I think that's very exciting in its own right. But yeah, that's about all I could think about to talk about these two movies right now. I just sort of wanted to get some of my thoughts and ideas off my chest. I know both of these movies have had some controversies, even though they haven't released yet. Just thought I would maybe touch on that and give you my thoughts about them. So, until next time, everyone, peace.